little bits of information, and I think it's true with every case come out. It continues to add pieces to puzzles. And that's what happens. It just continues to add pieces to all the puzzles. But I mean, what Kirsty has done with this, it is mind-boggling.
4 minutes until showtime.
The charts.
Joni, you're going to have to take everybody by the hand to explain these charts.
Oh, it's so easy. I don't even have pictures of her charts. I mean, here's the thing. It's.
All right, we are live.
You don't have to, because she completely gives an astrological, I guess a profile, and it's not something that she would have gotten off of YouTube or watching other creators or true crime creators. This is something that's everybody that falls into this category. If it's Saturn and it's Capricorn, it's in the 6th house, this person is going to have these physical attributes.
That just amazes me.
It's mind-boggling. And so what
It's
3 minutes until showtime.
it's the accuracy of forensic astrology is like nothing I have ever seen in my life.
That's just a listener on the board. If you see another number on there, it's just a listener.
Okay.
Make sure we don't have any tech trouble.
Okay. It's absolutely, it's mind-boggling.
It is.
And Kirsty,
That's why I was like saying, I might need some explanations, because everything is done very easily. I mean, it's all done by a profile. They have this, and this. Capricorn is bones. Saturn, bones. So that person will have issues with their bones. It's legs and hips,
2
knees
minutes
and hips.
until showtime.
So it's not. When you have clues, they're objective. When you have astrology, it all means one thing. It doesn't go off into little, it's like, this is how it is. Pisces is water. Neptune is water. Neptune is photographs. Very specific meanings. So you can't, but when you take the clues and you add them into with the chart, it's like putting together a puzzle. It's putting together pieces of a puzzle. And that's what we got from the KEEGAN KLINE information and the Ron Logan affidavit. But it's
1 minute until
it's
showtime.
pretty cool. Gosh, it's hot here. We've got 108.
Oh my God.
No, you can't breathe.
Our humidity feels like that, but
Our heat index right now is 108. You can't breathe.
No. Is it humid too?
Oh, it's always, we're in the valley. So it's the humidity it's crazy humid.
Yeah.
But it's like 96 right now. It's like, what? What? It's too hot.
Yeah, it's like 8 o'clock at night. Oh.
All my ice is melted.
Your show will go live in 5 seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1. Blog Talk Radio.
It's showtime, folks! to the Rick Radio Podcast Network, right here on Blog Talk Radio, with shows 6 days a week, Saturdays set aside for special events and recreation. Join us as we produce the best on the net today. Be a part of the recreation. Network intro by Robert Smith. Find Robert Smith Music today on Facebook and on YouTube. And now for a featured show.
Charming, grand, elegant, and memorable are words guests used to describe Belgrove Plantation Bed and Breakfast, located along the banks of the Rappahannock River in King George County, Virginia. Built in 1791, Belgrove Plantation was the birthplace of our fourth president and founding father, James Madison. This historic mansion features 4 luxurious master suites with views overlooking the Rappahannock River and plantation. Spacious accommodations, fresh air, and breathtaking sunset views of the river and plantation await you. Whether you're looking for the perfect location for your wedding, anniversary, corporate retreat, seminar, or romantic getaway, Belgrove Plantation provides a year-round destination with unique venues and events. For more information on reservations, date availability, events, and scheduled tours, visit our website at www.belgroveplantation.com or call 540-621-7340. Again, that's 540-621-7340.
Welcome to True Crimes, Mysteries Behind the Veil. And now your host of the evening, Joey Templeton Skinner, Christy Burns, and co-hosting Sherry Lynn.
Welcome to True Crimes, Mysteries Beyond the Veil. We are live tonight on the Rift Radio Network and Blog Talk Radio. I am here this evening with my hosts, Miss Christy Goins. Hi, Chris.
Hello.
How are you?
Hi.
Did you have a good weekend?
I'm doing well. Yes.
Good.
Busy weekend.
And on the other host this evening, and she was just on here, there she is, Miss Sherry Lynn, who is also the host of Haunted Tales on Monday evening. How are you, Miss Sherry Lynn? We've been playing catch up for the past hour.
Is it proper for me to say I'm exhausted? I'm
What
too tired to give a crap anymore.
is that what it now you're what is it? Exhaustipated?
Yeah,
Oh.
exhausted. I'm too tired to give a crap anymore.
Well, when this heat that we are having gets to you, you're going to be, this heat is, it really makes you tired. I really, it does something to you. It makes, it's exhausting. So it's going to be on its way to you.
Friday until Monday, I have 2.5, maybe 3 hours of sleep from Friday to Monday.
Well, for our listeners, she was out. Tell everybody where you are, because it's such an honor for your hunting group. What do you guys call your paranormal group?
We are SOS, Seekers of Spirits of Virginia. And I was approached by Trevilian Station Battlefield Foundation for my team to be the first paranormal team to come out and investigate. over 2,500 acres of historical Civil War battlefield that's been saved and preserved and is working on being restored. And we had a fantastic weekend. They were thoroughly impressed. I had 10 minutes of sleep, but was able to pull together a presentation for the public that came in. They were so impressed. They sold out of nearly everything. I think they were left with like maybe 8 or 10 cups of Brunswick stew, which was off the hook. Great. They sold out of books. They sold out of all the other food. They had a record number in attendance. We had tours that went past the closing time, despite it storming like crazy. Fantastic turnout. We got some great evidence. We're going to share it when it's appropriate and approved by the board there, out of respect for what we worked out with them. But we had a great time. Thank you.
I am looking
Yes,
forward.
We had a great time. We had some best investigators with us too.
I'm looking forward to
It was great.
to the investigative portion of it. And you guys are going to post it after it's approved so that we can hear actual, and this is a Civil War battlefield, correct?
It was the largest cavalry battle for the entire Civil War. Entire Civil War.
I love
And
it.
it was just awesome for them to approach me and be approached and be entrusted with that. And it was a huge honor.
It is an honor.
So I'm very thankful.
Well, get some sleep tonight because you had the show last night. So after the show tonight, get some sleep. But I can't wait to see
I'm
that.
still wound up on adrenaline.
Well, welcome to the show this evening. If anybody would like to call in, we would love to hear your calls at 323-870-3877 and press 1 to come on to the air. Because I know with the true crime community, what we are covering this evening, everybody knows this case. Anybody in the true crime community knows of Delphi, knows this case. We have had some new information released within the past 6 months to a year that I think really adds and sheds some light to the case that maybe some of our listeners are not aware of in the true crime community, but it's very interesting information. This case, as everybody knows, law enforcement has been very tight-lipped on this case, which they have to. This is an open investigation. They don't want to blow a case with a horrific murderer still on the loose that murdered these two precious children. So the fact of the matter is they have kept it tight-lipped. We have some of the information that did leak out. So anytime we get information that leaks out, we're going to pass it along. But what's exciting on this particular show is the fact that Kirsty McIntosh, who you all have heard me talk about, the forensic astrologer over in Australia, has permitted us to look at her work that she has done from a forensic astrology aspect as far as an astrological profile on the perp. We've actually got 3 event charts that Kirsty went through on different time stamps in the course of the day with the girls. And then she also sent me the clues from the psychic over in Australia, and to match them up, it's phenomenal when you see what this all came together as. Like I said, when we have a case, the clairvoyant clues are something, the forensic astrology is something, but when you sit down with it, and it's almost like meditation, and put all of the pieces to the puzzle together, it starts to paint a very clear picture. And of course, we are very honored to have Kirsty
to allow us to present this information to you all. She's the best in the world, if not the top forensic astrologer in the world. And I'm honored to have her as my friend, and great that we can go over this evening. So that's Kirsty.
Yeah.
Thanks, Kirs. And it's hard to get Kirsty on the show because of the time difference. So that's, if you want to see some of her work, she's got YouTube videos. She has the forensicastrologer.com if you're interested in forensic astrology. So check out her work. And if you want more in-depth detail on what I'm going to show you this evening, she's got these up on YouTube. But we did get her permission. So as many of you know, I'll give you kind of if you're not familiar with Delphi, this mystery, I'll give you just kind of a small timeline because I'm sure all of our listeners know about this crime. But what happened, we have two best friends from Delphi, Indiana. We have Libby and Abby. They were off of school on an off day, on a Monday. It was February 13th, 2017. And on Monday, they were off of school. They had a sleepover on Sunday evening, and they worked for Libby's grandmother in the morning. And that afternoon, Libby asked her sister to drive the two girls to what is known as the Monon High Bridge. And now this is actually a picture of the bridge, of the last picture of Abby on the bridge that Libby took and uploaded to Snapchat. Now, this is a very rural area in Indiana. It's a small town. Everybody knows everybody. This bridge, there are hiking trails all around it. The bridge is 70 feet tall. It's not in good shape. The only people that really know about this bridge are the locals. And the kids would go and hang out. It was not like it was an unsafe area. You know, these are areas that they leave their front doors unlocked. So it was very common for two younger girls to go down and walk on the trails. So it's not a safety issue. And I know that's been brought up a lot, but I don't think it was at all. So now I know it says 4 years later, still no answer in the Delphi murders, but it's actually been longer than that. And as you can see, we have Abby on the right and Libby on the left, the two best friends. So what happened on Delphi? Well, this is what we do know because Libby is such a hero in this crime because we have what everybody calls the bridge guy, BG. She had the mindset to actually snap a photo of this man as he approached the two girls. And they had said he was creepy. He creeped them out. So Libby had her phone down and snapped, actually, it's a video. Now, the bridge is very long. It's falling apart. It goes over a creek. And the girls were at the end of the bridge. However, coming toward them is BG. Now, what had happened that afternoon, the girls were dropped off by Libby's sister, Kelsey, and Libby's dad was due to pick them up at 3 o'clock. So we've got a very short time frame here. At 2:07 p.m., Libby uploaded that picture of Abby onto Snapchat. So we know that. And then at 3 o'clock, when Derek went to pick up the girls, Libby was not answering her phone. So look at our time frame with this homicide is anywhere between 2:15 to 3 o'clock. And again, we look at a bridge that only locals knew about. It's not something that anybody would know about. It's out in the middle of nowhere. So as we continue, that on the right, if you're watching on YouTube, there is a picture that Libby took that the BG, which is bridge guy, has a blue coat on, blue jeans. You can't see his face. It's a very grainy picture, but this is probably the most analyzed picture in the entire world, where everybody has analyzed this photo. And I'm not going to, and then there were sketches as well made. I'm not going to get into the 2 sketches that were made because I think it takes away from a lot of the other more interesting things about this true crime. And then again, there is what happened is the girls got to the end of the bridge. There was a video that the police released, 3 seconds of BG saying down the hill. So we have heard that played over and over again. And then the police added guys down the hill. Well, if anybody's from the Midwest area, everybody says guys. Hey, you guys, where are we going, you guys? It's very common lingo in this area. So they went down the hill. The girls crossed the creek, which we do know was ankle deep in some spots, chest deep in others. And the girls were murdered. And that is an actual picture of the crime, where the actual crime scene did occur. There's the crime tape. And they were about 50 feet away from the bank of the creek when they were found. Now, what happened is Derek went to pick up the girls and they didn't answer. They started to search at 5 o'clock in the evening. By 6 o'clock, it was an out and out force with police, with family, with everybody searching for the girls. The search was called off at midnight because of weather and because of low visibility. However, the family continued to search. And I've painted, this has been on my radar for 6 years. However, I think one time when why didn't they bring in dogs and continue searching in that evening? You can't look back on crimes though with that, but what a time to have had the dogs out. So what happened is we've had several people have made accusations on this perp, on that perp, but this case was basically pretty cold. We didn't know what was going on behind the scenes. So what happened is in December of 2021, law enforcement announced online that there was an account named Anthony Schatz. It was a wealthy model online, which they said was a fake account. Law enforcement said, anybody with the information on this Anthony Schatz account, please reach out to us. So now we have come to find out, I'm going to fast forward ahead. Keegan KLINE was interviewed by law enforcement regarding this fake account. Keegan KLINE also went under the name of Emily Ann 45. So just how you know how pedophiles, people that groom young girls, they will have numbers and numbers of accounts. And what they do is they groom the young girls to get pictures, videos, and the child pornography. It's all in kind of a ring where they exchange photos, they exchange videos, the pedophiles do. With that being said, what was very important from the police interview with Keegan KLINE was they felt 2 people were logged in to one of his devices and that he was covering for somebody. They continued to ask him that. I think that's very important. And we also know that Libby was in touch with this Anthony Schatz account. And this was one of the last communications that Libby had. Now, KLINE gave that information out in an interview from jail. It was never confirmed by law enforcement. So what I want y'all to remember, the girls were catfished into going to the bridge. We're going to assume that. KLINE has been arrested and has been charged with 30 counts, child pornography, and additional counts that he's awaiting trial. So he's going down for a long, long time. So if you look at, if you're looking on Facebook, Keegan Kline is on the left. The Anthony Schatz account is on the right. So as you can tell, there's a huge difference. Anthony Schatz was a model. He said he was a wealthy model, and so KLINE was using this account to catfish the girls. So in his interview, he has completely denied having anything to do with the homicides, and he continues to deny that. He's awaiting trial on other charges, but we know now that Keegan Kline's phone and this device was the last one to speak to Libby. Libby thought she was meeting Anthony Schatz. So that's the Keegan Kline information that's new on this case. Now, we've also got the release of a leaked warrant for Ron Logan. Who is Ron Logan? Ron Logan is the gentleman that owned the property that the girls' remains were found on, 1,400 feet from his. Okay, there's Ron Logan. He is an older gentleman. He was 77 at the time. He stated he was at an aquarium world getting tropical fish. He was not home. This was his alibi. But what has happened is Ron Logan fibbed on his alibi. So that immediately put the FBI on red alert after Ron Logan. So they went for an affidavit. And there are some key points that we have learned from the affidavit and the search warrant that the FBI put in to get the warrant signed by the judge. So now we do know that at the scene, one of the victims was missing an article of clothing. So we do know that. We also know from the contents of the affidavit and the warrant that the girls could have very well been staged. Now, staging can mean a lot of things. Staging can also mean that they were covering up a crime scene. Doesn't mean that they may have been posed or what have you. It could mean a number of things. We also found out from the warrant that an unknown weapon was used for the murder of the two girls that resulted in a lot of blood loss in the crime scene area. So much to the point that where the wounds occurred, that the FBI felt that the perp or BG would have had blood splatters all over his clothing. Now, these are all very important points to remember when we go over the clues. And then the last thing that was of interest on the warrant was the fact that they put down that Ron Logan worked with large animals on his farm because he had a lot of acreage. Apparently, there were unknown hairs found at the crime scene. So we all know that fibers and hairs would be with contact, etc. But remember that as well. So there were 4 things that we took out of the warrant and out of the affidavit that perked up the ears of the astrologers and the clairvoyant over in Australia, that when they sent these to me, they perked me up as well. So I'm kind of going fast. So Christy or Sherry, stop me if y'all have questions or if I'm not making sense, because this is a lot to go through. with
It's
Delphi.
a lot.
Well, and I know that people that have followed Delphi for years and years know, I mean, because it's a very complicated case. So, but those are very, very interesting pieces of information. Another thing that we did learn from the warrant is the fact that there are 43 seconds of audio and video. We've only seen 3 released. 43 seconds.
Yeah.
They also state that there was no sign of a struggle. But we've heard otherwise from rumors and information that there was a struggle. So that's very confusing. Was there a struggle? Was there not a struggle? It doesn't really mean anything with the clues or the astrology, but it's interesting to see that there's some discrepancies. Maybe the FBI wanted to make sure
I'll
they're...
just add that how smart were these 2 girls that they took the time to notice their surroundings and discreetly video and record this person that they felt was creeping them out. That took a lot of bravery to be discreet about that, because you know good and well if this person had known they were being recorded in any way, that phone would have never been found.
Well, and she put it in her pocket. And Libby was actually a hero. She was, just such a hero and such a strong girl, very much so.
Yeah.
So what Kirsty did is Kirsty developed a profile according to the charts that she compiled. This is the profile of BG, according to Kirsty McIntosh. He is of thinner build. People have thought he was of larger build. She comes, no, to the contrary, thinner build, larger teeth. There's something very odd shaped about his nose. And of course, it's just a feature of the nose. She also put down hip and knee issues. Now, remember, this was before the video was released, that this information came, that Kirsty came up with this. The person has medical issues, more than likely acid reflux, stomach issues. He has trouble eating. And this is because Virgo is 6th house and it's Saturn. That's where she came up with that. Now, what does this person do for a living? They can either be in the military, civil service, police, or farming animals with the land. I found that interesting. So keep that in mind. And then she also came up with dirty nails, clothing. And this person will always have dirty nails. They're always tinkering. They wear gloves and leather. So that is her astrological profile. She said he's mean. He's older, over 29. Very, very important to remember. This person has an obsession with church and a God type syndrome. Of course, he's delusional. However, this is a person that God is having him do this. There are God reasons for this. This is a fanatical psychopath. He's aloof and can be mean. Very interesting.
Trails were used regularly for church events and gatherings. Those trails all throughout underneath the bridge and everything.
Yep.
Those walking trails were used regularly by the church in the area for functions.
Yes. And then, but when you look at the clues from the clairvoyant clues, knee, leg, check surgery in the area. Again, please remember the clues and the astrological profile was done before the video was released. The clairvoyant right eye issues. So there we have something with the face. There's something with the face and the nose, right eye issues. The name of Scott or Crystal. And as an occupation, the clairvoyant said this guy is a driver. He's around boxes. He drives. So that is our perp profile from our friends in Australia. So here are the 3 event charts analyzed by Kirsty. Now at 1:45, the girls were being dropped off at the trail headed toward the bridge. They were in the car with their sister. So if you look at the chart, and I hope y'all can read that a little bit, they're at is what's called a 0 degrees. It's the beginning of the journey. So and I'm not going to get too much into the astrology, but just note that prior to where the moon went, the girls are represented by the moon in the event chart. They were in Gemini. That's 2 people. Gemini's ruled by Mercury in a car. And that's where they were. The 2 girls were in a car in the beginning of their journey at a 0 degree. Okay. So then we're going to look over at the perp, excuse me, on the event chart. He is represented by Saturn. So, and you saw what Saturn represents in an event chart by her profile. She has come to the conclusion that he was already there at that spot at 1:45 and had been stalking or watching what they had been doing. Okay. Do you guys have any questions on that one? This is beginning to also show that he is also at the very delusional stage with God right now. It's very, very strong on this particular chart. So that's the 1:45 chart. Do y'all have any questions on that one?
Looks good.
It's interesting, isn't it? Wait till you see this. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, this is the particular chart. That is the 2:07 p.m. chart. This is, if you look down on the left-hand side of the slide, or what we're looking at for our podcast listeners, is the last picture that was uploaded by Libby on the bridge. That was done on February 13th, 2017 at 2:07 p.m. So, and that's why this has also been known as the Snapchat homicides or the Snapchat killings. And this is the last pic of Libby. And Libby took that picture of Abby. That's the very last picture at 2:07 p.m. Now, what's interesting about this chart, the moon has moved from 0 degrees, because they're moving, to 29 degrees. Whenever you have an event chart and it's 29 degrees, it's danger. You are facing danger right now at this present time. And so they were standing right in front of him. They were probably looking at him at the time she uploaded that picture. It's the malefic degree, the 29 degrees. The sun has now moved up into the 9th house, which goes even higher into the religious degree, where this man is at the peak of his being delusional. And it's this God thing. Almost Kirsty explains it as he's got the voices in his head telling him to do this. Of course, he knew what he was doing. So let's see. And the area of the perp is moving down. So at that time, and also Saturn, who is the perp, is squaring the moon right now. They are they're almost looking right at each other at this time. That's the 2:07. So then she did an analysis of the 3:15 chart. And this is when the girls had already been told down the hill. And this is when Derek goes to the bridge to pick up the girls. Now at 3:11 p.m., let's see, the moon representing the girls has now moved into the 3rd house of communication, which means someone is calling. So the moon is being called. It's squaring Saturn. Saturn is the body, and no one is answering because it's in the house of death. So it's literally telling you what is happening at this present time. The girls are still represented by the moon. They are at a line called the end of the matter. So it's the end of the matter. They're now back to 0 degrees, starting a new journey. Mercury, which is communication, is squaring Saturn. So he's calling and not getting an answer. Now the monster, and that's what I call him because he is, BG, the monster, is now in the direction moving south, away from the scene. He is moving south. So there's no question in her mind that at 3:10, 3:11, the girls were passed on. They had already transformed over to made their transformation because it was the end of the matter. So is that amazing, Christy? Isn't that something else?
That is amazing.
So then
Wild.
it's very wild. So then what we're going to do is look at the clairvoyant clues from Australia. And I'm going to speed forward. So we've got the name Rosebud. Of course, we don't know what that is. Then we've got 3 counties west. West. He lives west. Lockhart, lock something. A heart locket. Something is buried. Odd-shaped knife, curved with an odd handle. Bait shop, golf course, 66 miles. Yellow, there's your knee and your funny eye. And the girls were meeting a boy. They were catfished. And something else I forgot to bring up on the chart is Kirsty also felt on this chart, the 207 chart, that something was buried in the area. The clairvoyant also came up with something is buried in that area, whether it was the clothing, what have you, something is buried in that area. So at the bottom picture, we've got where he possibly could have emerged from where the victims were, and that is a seed company. So that piqued my interest because of the farming, a driver, seed, animal. So let's flip on. Christy mapped this. So as you all know, by our listeners, mapping takes place when you do the calculations from the event chart. So there are Kirsty's mappings. So we know that Saturn is the person of interest. That's BG. So what we're going to find out in her one chart, she said it's 11 miles. So I'm going to take 11 miles, and I ran it from Delphi, and I went directly west, which was a clairvoyant clue. And sure enough, I ran into a ranch called the Rosebud Ranch. Rosebud was a clairvoyant clue. So the astrology chart says 11 miles on the ascendant, Delphi to the Rosebud Ranch, due west is the Rosebud Ranch. Now we know that this could be a truck driver. So we know that down in Delphi, there is a seed or where you buy animal food. When you look at Kirsty's chart, the POI, or the person of interest, that line goes directly to the Rosebud Ranch. Now, could he have delivered animal food that day as a driver? Was he down in Delphi that day? These are questions that you can ask because this is what the chart, This is what their clairvoyant has told us. And these people are from Australia. So there's no way that they know the terrain or this information. So it's pretty remarkable when you look and you combine. To the left is the line directly west 11 miles. And that's Kirsty's line, which is the person of interest. And if you go west 11 miles, it hits that another feed store. So can we ascertain and put all of these things together, and you look at it, and it's the mapping and the clues. And another thing, when Kirsty did this Pluto line, it went through a golf course. Golf course is a clue. That's another clue that the clairvoyant had. So there's a golf course. It also goes through many, many churches in the Delphi area. She's adamant that this person is affiliated, whether they are a gardener at the church, whether they make deliveries to a church. This is a place where the authorities should look. So we're going to look at seed and hay. And, if we go back to, if you all recall, to the actual warrant, they found hair and fibers. However, what was interesting is that they put in the warrant that Logan had large animals. So there were a lot of hairs found, large animal hairs found at the crime scene. So that puts us to these feed places where they need to check out who the delivery drivers were, who was there that day. But I think it's pretty remarkable when you get a warrant and you start to put the pieces together. This, to me, is really what true crime really is, because it's put all the pieces together. So isn't that amazing from our friends from Australia?
It is truly amazing.
It really is amazing that we have our friends way, many, many, many miles away that help us. But like I said, if you want any other information regarding Keegan Kline or the Logan subpoena, and look at Kirsty's event charts, she goes into it with a lot more detail on the actual astrology. But she's very, very adamant to check the churches in the area, whether it's somebody that is a gardener, because remember, dirt under the fingernails is very prevalent. So there are a lot of clues that you can get from the astrology chart and from the clairvoyant clues. And when you put them all together, it does indeed match up to help. And of all cases that need this one needs to be solved, because it was just what the children went through. This case of all true crime that's out there needs to be solved. So thank you, Kirsty. It was this is so interesting, and it's just one OMG moment after another when you start to put the pieces together with true crime. It's like, oh, OMG, what is this? So do you guys have any questions? I mean, I know I flew through that pretty quickly, but because there's a lot to cover.
There was. I really was afraid to interrupt you because I didn't want you to lose your train of thought there.
You're good. Did you have any questions? Does anybody in the chat, or Sherry Lynn, do you?
Well,
Yeah.
I was going to say, it's interesting that, was it a clue that was a clairvoyant clue about the catfishing, or was that actually in the forensic astrology?
No, the catfishing was, Kirsty said that the girl that works on her team has said from the get-go this was catfishing. They were meeting a boy over and over, and she repeated it constantly. That's what Kirsty relayed to me. Now, some interesting things that did come out of the event charts are the Snapchat and the reference to Mercury. And you can see the actual time that the photo was uploaded to Snapchat, and it was like 2:07. And Neptune and Mercury are making an aspect. So it's right. It's all there. I think it's Mercury. Neptune is one of it.
Going back to Keegan Kline's interview, where he said that, I guess one of the text messages, from one of her little friends, was the fact that he was supposed to, or she was supposed to meet him, but she didn't show up. So that's an interesting thing that makes you wonder about that.
Well, I think that's very interesting. And what intrigues me more about the Keegan Kline interview is the fact that the police were consistently saying to Keegan in the interview, who are you covering for? Who are you covering for? Because we know that there were two different personalities logged into that Anthony Shots account just by the way that the text messages were being answered. They could tell that it was two different people. So was this someone that Keegan gave them or had his phone around and they hacked into his account? Because they do pass around photos and videos to one another. These people have circles and they have rings, and they go under alias names to get even additional videos from young girls, and they groom them. So Keegan has adamantly, of course he would, he denied this. He does not match physically at all.
Right. And it's very possible that he never had an intention of meeting up with them. It was just something he could dangle to get something from them.
Sure.
And
Pictures.
it just so happens they were expecting him, meaning Anthony Shot, but instead they got this guy.
We don't even know if BG, because we've not been privy to the other 40 seconds of the video. We don't know if possibly they said that BG said, Anthony is down at the parking lot. We need to go down the hill, and he's waiting over in his car. I'm here. I'm his security, and I'm here to take you to Anthony. We don't know that. It could have occurred.
No, we don't know. Yeah. Yeah, they could have been lured.
I think they were more than definitely lured to that bridge. And it's, that's why you watch your children's.
On her phone that she had been in touch back and forth with this Anthony Shots or Tony Shots or whatever. That thing to meet him, and he had sent pictures repeatedly, and it turned out to be the fake. Yeah, that photo on the right, it was a fake profile that was made, and fake pictures were sent of what should I drive, and he supposedly had all these fancy cars, and one of them had been in touch back and forth with this, so they thought, individual, and I think it's on the record that it turned out to not be this person.
Well, yeah, and he had admitted to grooming about 30 girls within this area, and he's adamantly denied it.
The most interesting aspect, Joni, is in Keegan's interview, they were talking about how when he was asked about, did he know, I guess this was part of his lie detector test, his polygraph test, if he knew who had killed the girls. He said no. And the law enforcement officer said, and that showed deception. So, you know, there again,
that came
was he
from
covering for
KLINE.
someone?
That
Was he
came,
nervous?
yeah,
What was the deal?
that came from KLINE. Law enforcement has never released that he failed the lie detector test. However, you know, police can say a lot of things to people to get them to, you know, to confess
That's
or
right.
to give out information. There's nothing that, you know, the police can say, hey, you didn't pass it.
Yeah, we don't know if that's in case of fact.
We
just
don't.
know that that's what he was told.
We know that that's what he was told. And, you know, we also have to remember too that trafficking and pedophilia rings and with the pictures and the child pornography are basically communities, and they pass back and forth. And so for somebody to be logged in to one device while they're grooming children, it would not surprise me in the least. And I think that somebody probably outsmarted dear Keegan KLINE for pictures, and then they happened into what was going on in the phone. That's what I'm assuming. I don't know. But it's very sad. But that clue was from the get-go, Kirsty said.
It's
Yeah.
very possible that he gave out the password too, just to show it to his friends.
We're sure. Or here's my password if you want some more videos. But
right.
we also know that a week before they went to the bridge, Libby cleared out her phone. Now, did Anthony Schatz, aka Anthony Schatz, tell her to do so, knowing that they were going to be meeting? We don't know. She reset the phone a week before this happened. So, I mean, there's a lot of interesting things that
I suspect he probably did tell her that. It seemed highly likely.
Sure.
To cover his tracks.
I think this was very well planned.
Photo of him on the left. Is that a police photo?
That's when he was arrested.
Left,
yeah, that's his arrest. That's when he was arrested. And he's charged with 30 counts of child pornography and some other counts, but he's got an upcoming trial. So, and it's on those charges.
Miami, Florida?
No, this is up in Indiana.
Miami County?
He was,
but that's what it says on the photo.
He was arrested down in Florida, but he was arrested at his girlfriend's in Florida. And you have to remember, they interviewed him in 2017. KLINE was not arrested until 2020. So for 3 years, they were keeping an eye on him. And I think they were in hopes of trying to find out who the other perp was. That's just my guess. That's just my guess. So,
because the person who owned the land had connections to property owned in Florida as well.
Well, you know, Ron Logan, I think, as everybody has pretty well said, has pretty well been ruled out on all of that. And it was, I mean, so we just don't know.
Possibly was the one they saw on the bridge, and he told them, you know, they asked, where's the guy we're supposed to meet? And he said, down the hill, guys.
Don't know. But girls, that is our hour. So I hope everybody enjoyed this show. I think, thank you, Kirsty. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Australia, for sending us this great information. And we love it. And we will keep everybody updated on more Delphi information. Do you guys have anything else before we
sign off for the evening.
Now, what have we got coming up next week?
Next week, we have Miss Erica Frazier, missing in Kentucky. She went missing October the 12th, 1997. I actually saw this case again on Facebook. It hit my feed this week. That was one of the very first cases that actually I went with a friend of mine. And the only reason I drove down there with her is because I wanted to see, she goes, I'll show you where Nick Clooney lives. Because that's where Nick Clooney used to live. And I'm like, okay, I'll go down there with you and I'll help you with this case if you take me to Nick Clooney's house and show me where he lives. And that's how I went down there, and we met Erica's mother, and we met some law enforcement. My friend was working with law enforcement at the time. And I saw that on my feed and I thought, we need to keep this case going because her mother has since passed away and so has her father. So I've got a lot of really good insight on remembering this case. It was a long time ago. So we will talk about Erica Frazier. This is a big mystery, big mystery down in Bracken County, Kentucky. Missing in October. She was a high school senior. And I remember her mother gave us the tour of her bedroom and where she had her graduation gown still hanging up. So it was quite an experience that afternoon. So that it's a mystery. So, but join us next week for Erica Frazier in Kentucky. But thank you all for tuning in. I'm sorry. I feel like but it was just a really great bit of information from our friends from Australia that I thought everybody would like to share and enjoy it. So I hope you guys enjoyed that show.
Yeah.
It sure is interesting, isn't it?
I really did. I loved seeing all of the astrology, the forensic astrology. That was just amazing.
Yes, indeed.
Hearing it.
It never ceases to amaze me. We had I had one with Michael this week, and sure enough, it was 26 degrees, and I drew the circle, and the circle went right around the gentleman's apartment. It was 2.6 miles away. And it just never ceases to amaze me. It never does. So, well, with that, everybody stay cool this week. Stay safe with weather. And I know lots of tornadoes and activity, but have a super week. Miss Sherry Lynn, have a great week. Christy, have a great week. And thanks, everybody.
90 seconds.
We will.
Try to stay cool.
Rift radio podcast presentation. Catch all the shows throughout the week. Sunday, the Orion Effect. Monday, on a Tales from the Rocking Chair. Tuesday, True Crimes, Mysteries Behind the Veil. And on Wednesdays at this time, Evenings with Dr. Matt, with Saturdays set aside for special events. We
60 seconds.